Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
Speaking of guys, of course, Addison Barger and Brandon Barriera are two of the four who could very well find their way into that top 100 come the mid-season reevaluation by Baseball America. Another guy who the only thing that probably could stop him from getting into that top 100 if he has a really good beginning of the minor league season would be Yosfer Zulueta, and that would be him getting called up as well. Zulueta, of course, is a flame-throwing Cuban who has struggled to stay healthy since they picked him up in the free agent or the international free agency 3 years ago, I think it was. They picked him up as a 19-year-old. He's 23 now, but he literally has not been able to stay on the field. And there's been a lot of hype about this guy from time to time because
age correction here. He's 24, yes. And it's just
24,
worth pointing out because his birthday is in 3 days, so he's essentially 25.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for that, buddy. Yeah. Thank you. So 25 years old. So this is a guy who's probably going to make this Blue Jays team this year, if not out of spring training. I think we are going to see him make his major league debut. He very well could wind up in the top 100 prospects. But again, at 25 and with the arm on him, I think it's more likely he makes his debut with the Blue Jays.
I know we've talked about it before, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but this AAA pitching depth that the Blue Jays have brewing down in Buffalo is something we have not had in a long time.
Yeah.
And that is you just can't understate the value of that in a year that you intend to go all the way or go a long way, because there are going to be bad tacos. There are going to be slumps. There are going to be situations. There are going to be trade opportunities where having a guy who can throw 99 and touch 101, that's a valuable trade piece. Even if he's not pitching for the Jays, can contribute in other ways if we do need to go out and add a second baseman or a left field or whatever the case may be.
Insular depth has been an Achilles heel of this team for the last
Great word,
2
by
years.
the way. Your vocab is very impressive right now. Insular depth.
Yes.
Good job.
Well, it's I'll make that up later in the show where I can't remember should or something.
All right. Sorry to throw a wrench right in the tires.
No, but listen,
Insular
is
depth.
exciting. It is exciting to look at this Blue Jays Buffalo Bison team and see 5 guys in the Fernandezes, right? The Fernandez Bonanza is back.
The Fernandez 5, as we call them. I know there's only 2 of them. But...
Junior and Julian. You got Big Nate. You got Haggy D. And you got Yosfer Zulueta. All of them have hit triple digits. This is something the Blue Jays did not have even 1 year ago, man. So it's pretty exciting to see that there is the opportunity here that if there is a bad taco, if there is something that happens, that one of these guys gets up and can run with it. And this is how bullpens are built, man. This is how you get those Felix Bautistas that Baltimore all of a sudden had last year, right? It's just somebody gets given an opportunity and runs with it. And all 5 of those guys have big arms and could be high leverage dudes.
Well, and that's not even to mention the other guys like Matt Gage.
Yes.
Friend of the show, Matt Gage. We should have him back, by the way.
We should have Matt Gage back.
Pitched really well for the Blue Jays last year. Really well. I'm just pulling up his numbers here. 11 games, ERA of 1.38 with a whip of 0.923.
The only thing that kept him off this lineup, he had options. So with asset management, they decided to go with a pen full of right-handers.
But this is the closer in Buffalo.
Yeah, he is.
So he's pitching leverage innings down in Buffalo. Lefty. This is something the bullpen lacks, right? We have Tim Meza, also known as Old Evan Longoria. People watching this on clips have no idea the references we're making right now, by the way.
Yes. Callbacks are no good with clips.
No callbacks
From
in clips.
before. They're like, there was no
There
before.
was no before. Good morning. Yeah, I think Matt Gage could be another big contributor this year too, and like a unsexy name that's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Another name worth keeping an eye on is Adrian Hernandez, who Haggy D brought up yesterday. Because I was asking him about, because we were talking about how when it comes to comedians, one of the things that I respect the most is a comic doing something on stage that I just couldn't do. I just, for whatever reason, it's not my style or my skill set. One-liners is what came to mind. Just the guys who can go on stage with, 200 jokes in 10 minutes and just so
the Sammy
wild
Ray
to me.
Benties of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. So who in this Blue Jays organization, we asked Haggy, has pitches that you're like, geez, what I would give to be able to do that. And Adrian Hernandez is who we brought up because he said that his changeup looks like a left-handed curveball. He's like, the spin on it from a right-hander is so difficult to pick up because it's almost doing the opposite of what every other changeup is doing. So he was like, my God, like the kid, he told a story about him being taken long, and he comes into the dugout and he's just laughing, and Haggy's like, you never see people laughing after they give up a long ball, and he just throws his glove down. He's like, damn it, this is why I never throw fastballs.
Pretty much.
Right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so the final prospect within this Blue Jays system that very well could take a step forward and make his way into this top 100 Baseball America list come July. And this is a long shot, but it is 21-year-old Cade Doughty, who was taken in the second round last year. He played a little bit with the Florida State League last year. My guess is they're going to attempt to get him to Vancouver and get him hitting against a little bit higher quality pitching this year. And so I think if we see him take a step forward with his development and continue to progress like he has, because he took major steps forward in the Florida State League for someone who was just drafted at a young kid, right? So yeah, Cade Doughty's another guy to keep an eye on, second baseman, and very well could, if not even this offseason, this midseason one, we could see him crack that top 100 come 2024.
Love it.
Okay. Anything else prospect-wise you want to bring up here before we go on to Rymel?
No, I just we did get some comments on the international free agent signing that we did. What's his name? Bonilla.
Yes.
Not Bobby.
Emmanuel Bonilla.
Emmanuel Bonilla. Just want to remind people, I know he's 16, and they're like, well, why are we doing this? This isn't going to help us for a decade, right? But that's kind of the point.
Yes.
Is that you need to plant the seed today so you can eat the fruit tomorrow, as DiBernardo tells us. This is just part of having a sustained competitive window, or whatever you want to call it, ultimately. And it's a never-ending thing. So when you see a guy like Barriera, and we're excited about him, and it's like, yeah, we're not excited about him because he's going to help us win this year, or even next year, or even the year after that. But this is a guy who, if he continues to develop and can turn into that next wave of starting pitchers, right? These are the guys that we need to replace Kevin Gausman with in a few years.
That is such a good point, Adam. That is such a good point. Is look at the contracts of the starting pitchers currently on this roster, and that's probably the timeline that you're looking for. Ricky Tiedemann excluded, obviously, because he's such a talent. But even if Brandon Barriera takes a huge step forward, right? Like, he's 18. He's got 0 innings under his belt.
And I mean, look, knock on wood, Joe Woodhead here, but God forbid Alek Manoah leaves in free agency, right? Having a guy like Brandon Barriera, or whoever the next one is, Adam Kloffenstein or CJ Van Eyck, or any of these young guys who turn into something, it can take the sting off of losing a guy like that when you go, oh, thank God we have Semro Burst just dominating right now.
Yes.
For free on that rookie contract, So These prospects,
Yeah,
man,
so
they're the
whenever we
stars of
talk
tomorrow.
prospects, I it's so funny too because there are baseball fans who get so tired of hearing about prospects and they just don't wish to hear about it. And I get that sentiment, but it is all about the building blocks of a perennial championship team or at least a contending team, right? Is you
Yep.
got to have, like you said, you got to plant those seeds for tomorrow because guess what? We're going to need fruit in 2026. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
good to be doing.